So when it comes to the subject of photography, I don't even know if I can do a brief video. I've been a photographer for a really long time, and I'm about to hike the Pacific Crest Trail, and I'm going to have to leave almost all my gear behind. So that's going to be a hard thing for me, but I've figured I'll talk a little bit about what I've decided to bring and why I'm going to do it. So this is my normal camera. It's not coming. That's almost 6 pounds worth of camera right there. I've lugged that thing, well, literally all over the world. You start putting together a camera landscape photography kit, and you're adding more lenses. They're big, they're heavy, they're beautiful, but it's not coming. That kind of thing really adds up fast. And you put it into a pack that is also not particularly conducive to easy hiking. Let me grab that. So a brick of a pack like that is what I've used. It by itself weighs about 6.5 pounds. It obviously doesn't make sense to try to bring any of that. It's hard to leave it behind because I like to shoot and I love to capture great photography or landscape shots along the way. But that kit, just the cameras itself, let alone the batteries and the things that would go with it, will outweigh everything that I'm going to bring on the Pacific Crest Trail. So all of this gets set aside. Never mind a big tripod that usually comes along as well. So that gets set aside. So about a little over a year ago, I took a trip to Paris with my wife, and that was the first time that I left basically all my camera gear behind. And I shot the entire time just with my iPhone, snapshots, just having a great vacation and had a really good time. It was really a worthwhile thing. It was a nice experience. And so I decided that rather than going like with a mirrorless camera, something that's lighter weight but with good photography capabilities, I've decided I'm just taking my iPhone X with me on the Pacific Crest Trail. And that's going to pretty much do it. So I really started digging in to find out what this thing might be capable of. And I'm pretty impressed. From a photography standpoint, of course, the specs don't come anywhere close to, the big professional gear, but I knew that from a snapshot standpoint, it's pretty good. Where it really begins to excel is in what you can also do with it in terms of video. And again, I'm really impressed. I have some background in video production, and I started looking into all the different apps that are available and the ability to do multi-track editing just right here on the phone. The ability to then pull together my story and potentially upload it while I'm going, depending on what kind of internet connections I get. So that's the core right there, and clearly that's a whole lot easier to pack than is the big camera gear. Even smaller camera gear such as the mirrorless cameras that are out, which are great, but the battery requirements that go with them, the ability to service that while you go, that's kind of hard. So that was going to be it, because I didn't want it to be a photography trip. I want it to be a hike. It's a through hike with a different kind of experience. So, but being who I am, I started looking into how much could I get out of this from a photography standpoint. I knew I was going to want to be able to set it off to the side and potentially step out and get a shot of myself, something other than the old, end of the arm selfie. So I went looking for a little tripod. There it is. Little tiny, I think this is the smallest of the Joby, if that's how they say it, tripods. Pretty adequate as far as holding something as small as the iPhone. You need a connector though to go with that. So I went with the, what do they call it? Glyph. And the reason I went with that guy right there is it has 3 separate 1/4-inch threading pieces, and that gives me some flexibility that's really nice. So I can take that, and we'll go ahead and screw that on there. And then, of course, the camera slides up inside and it's secure, just like so. Now, with that in place, of course, I can set it down and step out. So I started playing around with that, and then of course the other thing I'd like to do is be able to put it a little further out, get a broader perspective. Many of you have probably come across the stick pick. Well, this is where that additional 1/4-inch threaded port comes in really nice. So I'm going to have this just right on top of that. So there's my setup. That is what basically will be sitting on my hip as I hike, and I can pull that out anytime I want. I can set it down, hold it onto something, or I just flip the whole darn thing over and stick it onto the end of the trekking pole like so with the stick pick, and it's already set up and ready to go. And I don't have to change a thing. So that makes a really easy setup. Well, then I started shooting some video and playing around a little bit, and the microphones that are in this thing, pretty impressive. They are picking up the audio pretty well, but it's a little bit on the tinny side, as you might expect. Anytime you get some distance away from yourself and the microphones that are built into this, clearly the worse it's going to get. So I started poking around, trying to figure out what am I going to do to try to improve the audio. So I picked up this little guy, which is the Shure MV88, and it plugs straight into the end of there, right into the lightning port. And I now have some directional audio, so if I'm back over here and shooting something and I want to talk about it, then it's going to pick up that audio, and it is better. I already had this little guy that is a Rode Dead Kitten. Yes, it's actually called the Dead Kitten, but it's basically a windsock that goes right over the top of everything. And I've got myself a windsock to take care of some of the wind noise while I'm going shooting. And this, of course, for video. Well, again, being who I am, how much can I get out of this? I want to give another lens a try. So Moment is the company, and they're making a series of lenses that attach over the face of the existing iPhone lens, and you have to buy their case because it has the mounting pieces right in there on it. But you line all that up, and now I've got myself a wide-angle lens built on. So I started out, I was going to be kind of minimalist, and I'm already building this whole camera system, so I went from just a really particularly lightweight thing, and everything's got a little bit of weight to it, so now I'm up to about a pound right there. Now clearly that's not super heavy, but on something like a through hike, I'm starting to get a little bit conscious about the weight that I have. So this is the setup that I'm going to start the PCT with. I'm very tempted to get another lens from Moment. They do a telephoto lens, and if you look at any of my photography on my website, you'll see that I really do like to shoot landscapes with a telephoto. It's kind of contrary. A lot of folks use the wide angle stuff. I really like to squeeze and get that mountain or whatever, bring it in tight and get all that detail and compress that image a little bit. So I'm pretty tempted. It won't do a huge amount. I think it's maybe a 60mm lens that they have, which would give me, I think, a 4 times optical zoom capability with the iPhone X. But there it is. That is my little rig that I will be going up and down or not up and down, but up the Pacific Crest Trail with. And hopefully it will do the job well for me. I don't want to get too distracted by all of this. I really want to just put it away for the most part, but I do want to document my trip. I want to get some shots. I want to do some video journals along the way. And so hopefully this will be a good setup. That's it.